Hi, I'm Greg Alvarado, and thanks for joining me for another Inspectioneering Whiteboard Discussion. This time we're going to cover damage mechanisms reviews, or DMRs, what are the considerations for a good DMR, and what should be in a report. So first things first, beginning with the end in mind, DMRs can be leveraged for a lot of activities. Critical input for a DMR are inspection strategies. It can also be used for mechanical integrity programs, whether it's a traditional inspection program and or an RBI program. Of course, to identify corrosion or condition monitoring locations, I should say. The information from a good DMR can also be used for integrity operating windows, which you can define at the same time with a little extra effort. They can be used for management of change activities, for understanding how equipment is damaged. If we make changes, is that significant? Should it be considered? And the information from a good DMR can be used for fitness for service evaluations later on. What's important to note is inspection strategies. A DMR gives fundamental information for selecting your type of non-destructive evaluation or non-destructive testing that's used, so that you pick the right types of NDE to find that type of damage. Also, what type of NDE sensitivities do I need? And here's where you can think about fitness for service is how deep does the crack need to be and how long does it need to be before it goes critical, and I need to have the required amount of sensitivity to find it in time. Also, how effective is the NDE in finding it? And keep in mind that we're looking at inspection strategies. So the damage mechanism tells us, how do I need to look? Maybe it's visual inspection, maybe it's ultrasonics, maybe it's a combination of many methods. And they also help us understand the uncertainty in being able to find that damage in conjunction with the inspection methods that I'm looking at. Another really important thing about the DMR process is we don't want to just create a laundry list of potential damage mechanisms when we're looking at things. We want to make sure that they're credibly expected to occur. So what are the kind of things I need to look at? I need to consider operating conditions. I need to consider materials of construction. I also need to consider operating practices. Am I an intermittent service? How has it been operated in the past? So operating history. And how do I intend to operate it in the future going forward? So that means I've got to have a good team of people looking at things. So number one, to be credible, I've got to have an experienced subject matter expert, corrosion specialist or corrosion materials metallurgical engineer. And then I need to have a good team because I need to be able to identify these things, right? And I'll give you a little key that I've learned over the years. When I'm looking at operating practices and confirming a lot of these things, a good chief operator, somebody who's been the operator of that unit for years, will even give me better experience than, say, the process engineer for that unit. And they're the ones also, that chief panel operator is the one that understands what goes bump in the night. And all those things are important things to understand when I'm coming up with my damage mechanisms. So what are the different types of damage mechanisms, broadly speaking, that I might need to cover? And what concerning those things? So I'm going to be looking at corrosive mechanisms. So as part of that damage mechanisms report, I need to know expected corrosion rates. Maybe it won't be one rate. Maybe it'll be a minimum rate and a maximum rate, but here's what I really expect it to be. I also need cracking susceptibilities. So whether it's chloride cracking or caustic cracking or hixoic or whatever, do I expect that to be a high, medium, or low susceptibility? There are also metallurgical damage mechanisms. Things like high temperature hydrogen attack, things like dealloying, liquid metal embrittlement, and so forth. And mechanical damage as well, things like fretting, things like erosion corrosion. So These are all critical things to have a discussion about in order in your damage mechanism report. Some other things that are really important too for these areas, not to forget in the report, are where do I expect that damage to show up? In the system or in the circuit, but also when it's relevant, is it going to be in the heat affected zone? Is it expected to be on the ID or on the OD? These are all very important considerations when I'm thinking about how I'm going to find it with non-destructive testing. That can be very specific in the report. It can actually be noted in the report, or the corrosion materials specialist can provide guidelines for where to expect it in that circuit, in that system, in that loop. And then another really important part to finish this off in the damage mechanisms review report is mitigation. Any comments on if and how that damage can be mitigated? Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this discussion on damage mechanisms review, and we look forward to your comments. You can put those at the bottom. Thank you and have a great day.